It's often in the ambiguity that people make emotional arguments instead of using logic and reason, and that's exactly what you will see tonight from my opponent, which you did, which is why I wanted to narrow the topic to avoid this ambiguity.
David, as an unbiased observer and commentator who absolutely has no sympathies with me here at all, do you think that's what I did in my opening statement?
No. Like where?
You're supposed to say yes, man.
No. I mean, you're bringing up issues that are emotionally charged, but what are you talking about? Like if you're saying, hey, if Israel doesn't have a right to exist and defend itself, then you're basically supporting the jihadis who would want to go and slaughter them and so on. Well, that's all emotional stuff, talking about mass murdering millions of people and so on, but it's entirely relevant to the debate as far as your reasoning is concerned.
Fantastic.
The topic at hand is simple enough. The proposition is, do Christians have some sort of ought to support the political ideology of Zionism? Apostate Prophet says yes, I say no.
Now, David, as an unbiased observer, honestly, I think if I haven't specified it, do you think he would? I think he would be in a position to actually make it about an ought, because I haven't really specified what I mean by should. But is it really correct to assume that the question, should Christians support Zionism, would be about an ought? Or would it rather...
No, should is ambiguous. Like you can say should in multiple ways, and it can refer to like, hey, this is a good idea. This is a good idea to do. That's different from saying you have a moral obligation to do this. You have to do this if you're going to be a moral person. But I have to say, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're talking about Zionism in the sense that we use it, it's just saying that Israel has a right to exist and defend itself. So should Christians have a moral obligation to say that Israel has a right to exist and defend itself? I think most places have a right to exist and defend themselves. You'd have to be a pretty messed up place for me to say you don't have a right to exist and defend yourself. Like you'd have to be a really, really screwed up place. So anyway, I don't know.
But here is, for example, Culpercast says you can have your own nation state without Zionist ideology, but so this is one of those things. Like this is why we specified, for example, why we defined during the debate what exactly Zionism means.
Yeah, what do you think we mean by Zionism?
Culpercast, right, what do you think Zionism is?
Yeah, wait, let Culpercast answer. What do you think we mean when we say Zionism? What do you think we mean?
I beg you, Culpercast. I'm looking at the chat right now. Please tell me what you think, or what you think we mean when we say Zionism. What do you think Zionist ideology means? How do you think it is different from? Or no, just what do you think? What do you think Zionist ideology actually means? Please tell us. I'm really curious, man.
It means that you take the Schofield Bible as the only Bible. It means you take the Schofield Bible and bash Muslims with it, you see. That's right, that's what Zionism is. You hit them on the head with a heavy Schofield Bible and kill them.
We're not getting the response from Culpercast. Come on, Culpercast. What do we mean by Zionism?
Yeah, look out for Culpercast. I'll just move on for now. Here is another. If Christians take over Israel, Jews will still be defended. Do you really think this is possible? Outset Eddie. In what kind of fantasy world do you think this is possible?
And by the way, I mean, think about this. You're saying what? Go over. Christians should go over and conquer Israel for what? Yeah, we could conquer the world. What is this?
We could conquer the world. You see?
Yeah. Now Culper is apparently too embarrassed to further comment on this.
It's Coper.
Here is the thing: you learn things online from memers and all that, and then talk here. But you say you can have your own nation state without Zionist ideology. But dude, Zionism literally means, and we even established this during the debate, and even Andrew here agreed to it, simply the establishment of the state for Jews. That's it. So when you say you can have your own nation state without Zionist ideology, you're actually making no sense at all. You need to sit down and inform yourself a little bit, or just be quiet. How about that? Anyway,
Oh, hey, hang on. Cell just posted. How'd Christians do with Lebanon or Egypt? The fact is, Israel stands up for its civilians and won't let them get swarmed by hostile ideology. And that's exactly what AP said in his conclusion,
exactly.
which was
Ask-
your closing lines of your conclusion were pretty brutal.
The most based Christians in the Middle East are at this moment pretty much the Lebanese Christians that I see online. Whenever I see Lebanese Christians chime in on a topic, I think you guys know what's up. And guess why? It's because they have experienced what it feels like, and they've experienced the recklessness of, unfortunately, of Christian leadership in the Middle East. They've experienced their Christian nation being turned into a Muslim nation, and now they have become oppressed people who are basically being pushed around by the Muslims to suck up to Muslims and to do whatever they say. Until, I hope it doesn't happen again, but it looks like the situation won't just, continue forever in peace. Pretty sure that there is going to be a civil war again sometime in the future, which I don't hope for. But Lebanese Christians know what's up. They know what happens when you have this unchecked, Muslims just tag along with us, bro. It doesn't work, man. It doesn't work.
Yeah. And I'll just point out along the lines of, well, why don't Christians just go over there and conquer it? One, like, seriously, who's getting behind your idea of Christians going on and conquering Israel just, to make Andrew Wilson's fans happy? But second, think about the track record here. There are places with massive Christian majorities like Poland and so on that are taking a stand against Islam and so on. Lots of places with Christian majority populations aren't. They're doing the exact opposite. They're bending over backwards to support all things Islamic. So if you were to just examine this, hey, what are the odds that Israel will defend themselves against jihadis? Pretty darn good. They have a good track record of defending themselves against jihadis. I could say 100% chance that they're going to defend themselves against jihadis. What are the odds that if Christians went and took over, they would take a stand and not let jihadis take over time? Kind of a coin flip. Because you just can't tell, because you got Christians doing all kinds of things. So you got one group that we know is actually going to stand their ground and not back down from jihadis. And then Christians kind of depends. Where are these Christians coming from? Is it Poland going to go down there and conquer it?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it Canada? Which one? Who's doing the conquering of Israel in your little theory here?
Canada.
For the purpose of this debate, I will be using the most charitable definition of Zionism, which is the one AP agreed to pre-debate so that everyone's
Which is the actual definition.
clear. A movement for originally the reestablishment and now the development and protection of a Jewish nation, which is now Israel. Seems straightforward enough, so
That is the official definition, by the way. It's not just it's not just the charitable definition. This is the official definition. So when we say Zionism, what we're talking about is simply the existence of Israel, the continued protection of Israel. If you are against the existence of if this is the only country that you have a problem with concerning its existence, it seems that you have a bigger problem, man. It seems that your problem isn't just with the state of Israel. It seems that your problem isn't just with the policies of Israel. It seems that you have a greater problem with the Jews, because you usually don't just say, oh, this country, it shouldn't exist. This nation shouldn't exist. Only with Israel do people do such a thing, which just shows that they have a problem with Jews. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I've said before, I mean, I'm generally in favor of people in general being able to exist and defend themselves. So, and that increases significantly if you have billions of people who want to exterminate them. Like if all of a sudden there were billions of people in the world and they all said, hey, we need to slaughter all Japanese people. And then you said, hey, do Japanese people have a right to exist and defend themselves against that? I think, yeah, obviously. But somehow on the issue of Israel, there's one group that is not afforded that basic common courtesy.
Oh, may these people have a country? Yeah, sure. May these people have a country? Yeah, sure. May these Jews have a country? No!
We must say they don't have a right.
let's get into it. I will be presenting 4 logical arguments for why Christians have no such obligation, secular or otherwise, to support this Jewish political endeavor. I will order them with my weakest objection first and my strongest objection last. Note, I have many more
You're out of
arguments
order,
than
dude.
the ones I'll lay out tonight, but for the sake of time, I'll just stick with 4. To preface these arguments, I'll explain that Ridvan cannot make the claim that the religion of Judaism isn't part of Zionism. The right of return applies to both religious and ethnic Jews. Israeli law defines Jewish as someone who is born to a Jewish mother or who has converted to
I would say, I have to say at the right here, I would definitely say that Judaism is part of Zionism. I would definitely say that Judaism has part in Zionism, and I had a different view of this in the past. I got educated and humiliated by people that I talked to on this topic, but it is very much that Judaism and Zionism are pretty much they go hand in hand. It is part of it. The state of Israel is a largely and mostly secular state that is, however, that has very much Jewish, religious Jewish things at its foundation as well. Here we have a groper.
AP is a good goyim. The goyim.
It would be a goy, you dummy. Goyim is plural, you imbecile.
AP is plural, you see. This proves that he is the Mahdi. AP is a bunch of nations, you see.
Judaism. In other words, the very people group defined as both religious Jews and non-religious Jews, emphasizing all Jews have the right of return. According to legal expert Nancy C. Richmond in her analysis of Israel's law of return published in Penn State International Law Review, quote, while Israel is not a theocracy, the Jewish religion has a central role in Israeli politics because the main purpose of the country's establishment was to create an independent Jewish state, end quote. This analysis is shared by virtually every scholar I could find, pro or anti-Zionist, and is logical due to the fact that if Zionism really had nothing to do with the Jewish religion, it wouldn't specify Jewish converts as being allowed this right of return. Very simple. This is an important preface.
What this shows me, actually, how long is this? 29:11. Let's see. He spoke about this for a few minutes. What this shows me is actually an amount of poor preparation on Andrew Wilson's part. Why is he giving this entire speech? Nobody cares about it. It has no relevance to the discussion. It's also not something that is actually which would counter anything I would say, because I would actually agree with the premise. I would agree with the premise that Judaism is part of that Judaism and Zionism go along. It seems that he didn't actually study my position on these things, which is kind of weird.
This is an important preface, as Apostate Prophet's going to argue this as a secular state, and that's simply untrue as a matter of fact.
Wait. Later, when I said that he, wait. Let's listen to this again. What did he say?
Being allowed this right of return. Very simple. This is an important preface, as Apostate Prophet's going to argue this as a secular state, and that's simply untrue.
Did he just say that I'm going to argue that Israel is a secular state? Am I hearing this right? Sounds a little bit slurred. Is that what he just said?
Jewish converts as being allowed this right of return. Very simple. This is an important preface, as Apostate Prophet's going to argue this as a secular state, and that's simply untrue as a matter of fact. This
No.
He
said you're going to argue it's a secular state.
Now, I have a major problem with this for one fact, which is that I actually confronted him on the whole secular narrative, and I said that he said that I would call it a secular state. He then denied saying that later. Wait a minute. Where was that? Secular Zionist government is giving money, religious authority, secular Zionist, secular. Oh, here. Let's see. On scripture. Number 3, he listed a bunch of things that I never even addressed, that I never even think about, and he even made the false assumption that I would call Israel a secular state. Israel is not a secular state. Israel is in some way secular, but Israel is very, very explicitly, from the very beginning of its foundation, partly built on religious grounds. This is acknowledged from the very beginning. It is a compromise that was made in the history of Israel, in the founding of Israel. You hear that, right? So I said here that I wouldn't say that because I acknowledge that Israel has religious foundations. Now comes his denial stage. Let's go there. This is very, very interesting to me. Let's see. Secular, 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 secular. Here, let's see.
After false dialectic. First, I was not saying that Ridvan takes the position that that this is a secular state, but that even if
What?
Did
What?
you hear that?
Yeah,
Did
I
you
did hear that. Hey, put those together. Yeah.
did
Hey,
argument-
yeah. Cut the first clip, put your response, and then put his clip.
Caught on camera. Let's listen to this again.
return. Very simple. This is an important preface, as apostate prophets going to argue this as a secular state, and that's simply untrue as a matter of fact.
And now let's listen to this again.
False dialectic. First, I was not saying that Ridvan takes the position that that this is a secular state, but that even if he did, the argument wouldn't matter, right?
There he is. There he is. This is so funny because it was even in his opening speech that he actually asserted that I would call it a secular state. And then it's right here, him denying it. That's so funny, man. Anyway. Wow. Wow.
This leads me to argument one. There is no ought under Christian ethics to support other religions which specifically oppose doctrine and an establishment of a homeland for them. The Jewish religion is acknowledged as being incorrect by every major Christian branch. This includes the Eastern Orthodox Church, which apostate prophet is converting to, as well as mainline Protestant and Roman Catholics. The specific problem here is particularly the denial of Jesus Christ being the Messiah, as outlined in simple language in 1 John 2:23. No one who denies the Son has the Father. Whoever acknowledges the Son has the Father also. In simple terms, if you don't accept Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, you don't worship the same God Christians worship. Now, this is also found in John 14:6. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father but through me. Christ as a Messiah is central to the creed of every major Christian profession of faith. So my first argument concludes, Christians ought not support this heretical for Christian political ideology, and supporting heretical ideology is itself sinful as it violates Christian ethics. The argument itself, premise one, Christians who support heretical ideology denying the divinity of Christ are sinning.
I feel like this is a very, very, very liberal misuse of the term heretical. But I would like to have a second opinion on this because
I mean, it's also a situation where, like, okay, Christians who support a heretical ideology are wrong or something like that. I say, okay, hey, there's a bunch of Muslims who are about to beat up a Jew. They're about to beat up a Jew. Should I help that Jew not get beat up and murdered or something like that? Well, he's a Jew, so if you help him, you're supporting his ideology because now he's allowed to continue and to spread and defend his ideology and stuff. So you'd be supporting this ideology by helping him, and therefore you'd be a heretical Christian. This seems really, really weird to me. I mean, dude, think of something. Think if you actually took what he just said seriously there. Think of how you would interpret something like the parable of the Good Samaritan. Right? There's about a Samaritan. So Jews and Samaritans were enemies. They didn't like each other theologically. They thought they each one accused the other of being heretics. Right? What's the story of the Good Samaritan? Jewish guys on his way out of town. Robbers grab him, beat him up, rough him up, take all his stuff, leave him bleeding and dying. Lead him bleeding and dying on the road to Jericho. Someone walks by him. I'm not helping that guy. Another guy walks by him. I'm not helping that guy. And then a Samaritan comes along. Samaritan, this is your enemy. This is your theological enemy. Do you help him? Well, if you help him, you're helping someone with that ideology who will then be able to continue to spread that ideology. Jesus it doesn't sound like he's saying the good Samaritan is the bad Samaritan, is a shameful, evil, wicked Samaritan for supporting someone who holds a different ideology. It doesn't sound like that's what the parable means at all. But according to according to Andrew, if I took what he just said seriously, then saying, hey, this group, because they have an ideology that's different from mine, I cannot help them, or that's actually helping their ideology. That's kind of, I don't know. That sounds really, really screwed up and weird to me.
This is what he just did. He basically he directly equated by simply arguing or acknowledging that that Judaism is related to Zionism, that Judaism is part of Zionism, that Judaism has a relationship with Zionism. He thereby made a huge fallacious jump, which is quite contrary to his idea that he has employed great logic, and has thereby equated the collective of Jews and the Israeli state with Judaism altogether, and thereby made it look like if we help these people, if we support these people, then we are supporting Judaism, and we are not supposed to support Judaism. That's basically what he did. This is nonsensical. This is fallacious thinking. This is a giant fallacy, one after the other. Actually, we're not supporting Judaism. It's not about supporting Judaism. It's not about supporting a false belief. It's not about any of that. It's also not an adequate response to what I would say when I make my argument for supporting the Jewish people. For example, we are not thereby, by supporting the Jewish people and their survival and their existence, supporting the entirety of their beliefs. That's nonsense. That's complete nonsense.
You're pretty much never, anytime you help anyone, guess what? You disagree with that person on something. But I mean, think, if you actually took that seriously, that helping a person means you are supporting that person's ideology and so on. Therefore, you shouldn't help that person unless you are affirming all of that person's ideology. Again, what do you do with the parable of the Good Samaritan? It was specifically about people who have rival theologies, nevertheless being willing to help one another.
Stone Shiva, I'm not sure if you're serious. You sound like if you call something a fallacy, you must actually say the type of fallacy he made. I hope this is a joke because it sounds very funny. It sounds like you're one of those people who went online and started learning about which fallacy is this, which fallacy is that, which fallacy is this one, which fallacy is that one. A fallacy is simply flawed thinking, a flawed argument that is logically not sound. That's what it is.
Yeah, and if you don't specify, you can always just say non sequitur, means it doesn't follow.
Yeah.
And that's generally what you mean by fallacy is you've got to.
No, you have to point out which fallacy it is. You have to point out the fallacy. You have to name the fallacy. Which fallacy is it, David? You have to point it out.
And you can only reason deductively, and you have to say that if you say, hey, if you don't do this, then this bad thing is going to happen. You have to say, no, that doesn't work because that's a false dilemma because other things could happen.
Is it this fallacy?
I literally started by saying a little bit of logic is a dangerous thing, because then you start acting like this.
I'm sorry for making fun of you, Stone Shiva, but that was very stupid. So here's the Good Samaritan. Do you want to read the whole thing, or do you just want to get to the story?
It's up to you. So people were
Actually,
asking.
Let's do it. On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. Teacher, he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? What is written in the law? He replied. How do you read it? He answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Let me quickly change the translation here. As yourself. And he said to him, you have answered rightly. Do this and you will live. But he, wanting to justify himself, said to Jesus, and who is my neighbor? Then Jesus answered and said, a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves, who stripped him of his clothing, wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a certain priest came down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. Likewise a Levite, when he arrived at the place, came and looked and passed by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. So he went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine, and he set him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. On the next day, when he departed, he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said to him, take care of him, and whatever more you spend, when I come again, I will repay you. So which of these 3 do you think was neighbor to him who fell among the thieves? And he said, he who showed mercy on him. Then Jesus said to him, go and do likewise.
He's saying, go act like that. Go act like the Good Samaritan. Act like the guy who showed mercy.
But Andrew Wilson's like, no, what if that person had the wrong belief?
Yeah, keep in mind, we're not even joking. That sounds like, because think, if you said, okay, you're a Samaritan, you're walking down the road, you see this guy bleeding and dying, half dead. Should you help him? Should you help him? Pretty much all of Andrew's arguments are in favor of no. So one, there would be what do you mean by should? Do you mean moral obligation? I would think you have a moral obligation to do that. But even if you didn't want to say just should you do that is a good thing. Apparently he wouldn't even grant that. Then you have the idea, if you said, why would you say you should do that? Well, because if you don't help him, then he's just going to die. If you don't help him, he's going to die. Andrew would then object to that and say, nope, that's a false dilemma. That's a false dilemma because other things could happen. You could leave him and then someone else could come along and get him. So you're not even, it's like, what? And then beyond that, Andrew would say no, because these guys have different ideologies, and to help a person who has a different theology, different ideology, is to agree with their ideology and to help their ideology spread. And a Samaritan would not do that with a Jew, and a Jew would not do that with a Samaritan. And therefore, in multiple different ways, in every way that Andrew is arguing, he'd have to say, no, this guy's an idiot. And Jesus was wrong for saying that you should go and do likewise.
If Andrew Wilson walked past this person on the ground, he would say, well, it's none of my business, and there is no ought in Christianity that tells me that I'm supposed to help this guy. So it's none of my business, really. And show me the ought. Where's the ought? Show me the ought.
It's false dilemma. False dilemma. There's another possibility.
False dialectic. Show me the ought.
Bad. Little logic's a bad thing.
Well, show me the ought. Show me the ought for good logic. You're making a false dialectic here.
Christian profession of faith. So my first argument concludes, Christians ought not support this heretical for Christian political ideology, and supporting heretical ideology is itself sinful as it violates Christian ethics. The argument itself?
Straw man. And he thereby just directly concluded that Christians not just have no obligation, but that Christians should not, or rather must not, support Israel, for example. And he makes it look like this is a church position. He makes it look like this is a doctrinal position, a dogmatic position within the church, within Christianity, within the Orthodox Church. It's not. It is not.
Premise 1, Christians who support heretical ideology denying the divinity of Christ are sinning. Premise 2, religious Jews reject the divinity of Christ after he's revealed himself to them as the Savior. Premise 3, if religious Jews reject Christ, they are incorrect, and Christians who claim they aren't are spreading heresy. Conclusion, religious Jews are, by Christian standards, wrong and should not be supported by Christians who would be spreading a heresy if they acknowledge Jewish theology is correct or give it support. To reduce it to a much simpler view, if one of my daughters had an OnlyFans, I would still love her. We are commanded.
Andrew, if you're walking down the street, if you know your daughter has an OnlyFans page, and you're walking down the street and you see someone about to beat your daughter to death, should you help her? Should you help her? Because following your reasoning, no, you shouldn't help her, because by helping her, you'd be helping her continue on OnlyFans, and you don't want to do that because you don't believe in that, and therefore you shouldn't help her. Like, are you serious? This is I don't know. This is weird stuff, man. That's creepy stuff.
What's funny to me is that this is the thing that he thinks of.
Mm-hmm.
This is what he does.
As we were.
That's a great example. What is a common example that just appeals to everybody? Well, a daughter with OnlyFans. Yeah.
Commanded to love the Jews and the Muslims, but I'm not going to promote it. Argument 2, the pragmatic argument and its response. Ridvan focuses a lot on.
Hold on. Yeah, again, following the way he's using promote this. Like when we say, hey, we support Israel's right to exist and defend itself, we're not saying, hey, we're promoting their ideas against any Jewish ideas against Christianity. Saying you support the people's right to live and exist and defend themselves and so on. So, but following his reasoning, again, if his daughter were about to be murdered, should he help her? If he does, he would have to say, well, by doing that, I'm actually promoting her OnlyFans stuff because she's going to continue doing that. So I'm actually promoting her OnlyFans stuff. And therefore, since it would be wrong and immoral, should Christians promote OnlyFans? No. But by doing this thing, I would indirectly be promoting OnlyFans. And therefore, I shouldn't do it. And therefore, I should let my daughter die. I should let my daughter be beaten to death and not help her, because if I help her, I'm promoting OnlyFans. That's his reasoning. He's just doing that with an entire nation.
Let's make it a very good. Let's make it a perfect analogy here. His daughter is in some other part of the world, and his daughter has an OnlyFans account. Okay, his daughter does OnlyFans stuff, and this is how she makes her living. This is what she does. She promotes it and all that. She is now being attacked by people who actually want to violate her and kill her. Okay, she needs help. She's asking Andrew Wilson for help. Andrew Wilson now would probably think, well, if I help her, if I support her against those who want to exterminate her, because remember, that's what the whole thing was about. My opening statement was very clear, and my whole point is very clear. Israel is in a fight for their survival, which he even acknowledges, and we should help them. So if his daughter then, who has an OnlyFans account, was being attacked and was fighting for her survival, he would, by his logic, not support her, because he would then be helping promote sinful behavior. So he would therefore let her die. And he would be okay with that. He would justify that. Here's alphanumeric thing. AP, your analogy sucks. It is a perfect analogy, exactly and precisely based on his logic. Explain to me exactly how it sucks. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, wait. We'll wait patiently.
Exactly his
Where
logic.
does the analogy break down?
Go ahead. That's exactly the comparison that he made here. Go ahead. Come on. Go ahead. Man.
Through geopolitics to make an ought for support for Christians towards Zionism, focusing on the anti-Muslim factor rather than the Christian ethics factor. The pragmatic argument from him is simple. If we have to choose...
Hang on.
Israel...
Hang on, because you did that. You're focusing on the you're focusing on the anti-Muslim factor. Blah 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 blah. This would be like if Muslims were about to beat his daughter to death and stuff. They were like,
"Oh, she's on OnlyFans. We will kill her. She refuses to be our mortal wife, so we will kill her."
Then he should say, well, I'm not going to support her because to support her would be to promote her OnlyFans somehow. And if we were to say, hey, you shouldn't let Muslims beat up your daughter. Oh, you're focusing on the anti-Muslim thing. You're focusing on the anti-Muslim thing by saying you shouldn't let Muslims beat a woman to death.
And let's get it straight. This is once again it's a straw man. It is.
Muslims, but I'm not going to promote it.
Let's see.
Argument 2, the pragmatic argument and its response. Ridvan.
He says pragmatic argument, which already seems like it's going in a wrong direction. And he will now demonstrate that he either completely failed to grasp what my argument was when I brought up the Muslims, or he's deliberately misrepresenting it.
Focuses a lot on the pragmatic approach through geopolitics to make an ought for support for Christians towards Zionism, focusing on the anti-Muslim factor rather than the Christian ethics factor. The pragmatic argument from him is simple. If we have to choose to support the state of Israel, who are seemingly at least sympathetic to the West and Christian nations, then we should, or Muslims will dominate the region unopposed. There's no way.
Wrong. That's not what I said. That is not what I said. It's not even close to what I said. It's not it's not about there are two sides, Israel and Muslims. Israel is better than the Muslims, therefore you should support Israel. That's not the point. I never said that. I never argued from that. When I made my points, when I gave my reasoning for supporting Israel while they are fighting the Islamists, the point of it was very clear. I very explicitly, among my two reasons which were about that, I very clearly made it about how, number one, they will not stop at the Jews. it will continue to others, including to Christians. Number two, it will lead to the development of the Islamic Caliphate, which will once again be bad, be horrible for the rest of us. It was not about, oh yeah, Israel is better than Islam, so therefore we should support Israel. That's not what it was about. That's not what it was about. And if you make it look like that's what it is about, then you have failed to understand my position and thereby failed the debate.